Good morning.
Good morning.
We trust that everyone is okay and that God has had mercy and helped us, kept us this week. We want to give Him thanks. It's always a blessing to be in the house of God. And so we thank God for saving and keeping grace. God been good to us. Thank God for the work that He's doing in our lives and in the lives of others. Appreciate God's goodness. We want to open up our Sunday school lesson. I believe the Sunday school lesson have been a great help, and I'm hoping that you who are tuning in this morning will understand, because it is kind of a breaking down the book of Revelation to us. It has made it very easy for me personally by the different topic of the church. You know, it started out Israel, Old Testament people of God. That was the first lesson. Then the second lesson was spiritual Israel. And then the next lesson was the divine executive of the church. The one faith. The early church in action, the early morning church in action. And then I will listen to, we are kind of behind on the study because I've taken a lot of time to explain. And this today I'm way behind. We're on page 24. I'm taking the opportunity to kind of teach us the revelation using the Sunday school lesson. Today, the 26th, we should be in the dark ages. The dark ages. After the falling away came the dark ages. And that age is the Pergamos age. The dark age, Pergamos age. Everything was dark. The Bible was closed. Very simple. The church, Ephesus age. Then it said the church, men slept. And when men slept, they fall into apostasy. The sleeping here is apostasy. They left their first love. It's the same thing as apostasy. When the church fell into apostasy, it went into the wilderness. And this wilderness brought Roman Catholicism into effect. Very simple. The falling away started when men slept. The Bible began to close. The apostle went out the scene. And then those who came after the apostle began to have supremacy over each other. And that caused the church to go into the wilderness. And that wilderness is Roman Catholicism. The Pope. The Apostle Paul said, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. The man of sin symbolized the seat, that seat of the Pope, where the Pope sit. He's the man of sin. That's what they call 666. Vicarious Filii Dei. He claimed to be the voice of God. I'm going to read something to you. In Thessalonians, book of Thessalonians, when the lesson said falling away, it means that staying saved is all dependent on you and I, maintaining our experience. And the church did not maintain in Thessalonians, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, it said, now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, that day of Christ is at hand. He said, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away. Here we have the falling away. Church went into apostasy. Same thing that men slept. You go to Matthew, tell you when men slept, the enemy sowed seed and apostasy. That sleeping is apostasy. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. He said, who oppose and exalt himself about that all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. This is the seat of the Pope here. That's what happened in dark ages, age of Pergamos. There was no light there, it was all darkness. All darkness. The Bible was closed. The Bible was closed and the saints was hidden. The real saints, the church of God, the saints who were standing, they had to hide to worship God because the Bible was closed and there was great persecution there from this beast here. And everybody saw this church here, Roman Catholic Church, and they thought that this was the church of God because of the way it exalts itself above that which is God. And all they thought was the church of God. This is why until today, when they call the Roman Catholic, said that that's a church. But it's not the church. It's the apostate church of God. Those who let the truth down, it became, and they created a beast here. The Bible talks about same thing, the mountain here, supposed to be the church of God. The mountain on fire fell into the sea. It's the same thing. They went into apostasy. When it said they fell into the sea, it's the same thing. You go to Revelation. The mountain that was on fire fell into the sea was the church of God that was standing the day of Pentecost. They fell into the sea. They fell into the hands of men. And here we see the black horse here. And then you got the balance in Zan. I mean, they begin to weigh out the food. They begin to ration the word of God. And the people were not getting the food that would keep them saved, that would keep them on the mountain. So what happened? The church went into, some people said the church never fell because there were saints who were still living in this dark age, but they had to hide themselves. They hid themselves away from the system in order to worship God. And some said of the church, yeah, but the church was not. So all they saw was this here. In the beginning, all you saw was the church of God, the woman clothed in the sun. That's what, this was not here until the falling away created the beast here. The apostate church of God. You look at these two men laying there, it's supposed to be the word and the spirit. And while they were mourning, they could not operate in the church anymore because it was all Roman Catholicism. They tell you, Roman Catholicism, Bible is closed. You're falling away. Very simple. We need to understand this. See, many times, we think that what the church been fighting against is falseness from the beginning. Paganism is falseness, paganism. All through the ages here, the church is fighting against falseness. The dragon and the beast and the calf. If the church of God had maintained its purity, then we would not have all of these changes here. It would have stayed that way until Jesus come and call us home. But it never happened because the church fell. They went into apostasy. But the church is not that hard to understand if you can understand it. Because in the Bible, there are many similarities. The mountain symbolizes the church. Mountain on fire. The white horse symbolizes the church. The church going conquering out to conquer the white horse. It's a militant, meaning that we're fighting against the devil. We're fighting against sin. The red horse here is the same symbolized pagan Rome, the red horse. They also add, the military, they're fighting against the church. And it's going to go all the way down the same way. False religion is going to be fighting against the church of God, God's people. And the devil is going to be in control of that system. That's what the battle is. Battle is against sin, falseness, and the other lesson is talk about the dark ages. The same thing, the dark ages. Here we go. The next lesson is the dark ages. And I just told you, church went into the wilderness and created the dark ages here. The people, and I keep saying, the people who were standing, when the apostle died out and those who took over, they began to have preeminence over each other. And that created Roman Catholicism. That's why we have all of these different titles, cardinal, archbishop, because these titles give people superiority over each other. That was not at the beginning. At the beginning, they were all brethren. But once they went to sleep and lost that purity. So here in the 28th page, it said the dark ages. And it still drew the third part of the stars in heaven and did cast them to the earth. It's that earth means people, earthly religion. And the dragon stood before the woman, which were ready to be delivered or to devour her child as soon as she was born. Revelation 12. He said, I saw a wonder in heaven, the woman clothed in the sun. Here we go again. Same thing. The woman clothed in the sun and the moon under her feet. So talking about. The dragon came and the dragon could not conquer. It says Michael and his angel fought against the devil and his angel. The devil symbolized that paganistic Rome. And they did not prevail. Some people left the truth, some people stood, but the church still stands, stood, in spite of what so much saints died. They loved not their life unto death, and they die in that system, in that age. Ephesus able, they kept the victory. It's only until the apostle die out that those who came after begin to sleep. I'm going to show you right now. In the 13th chapter of Matthew, it said, verse 24 says, Matthew 13:24. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man which sowed good seed. That's the church of God came, good seed. Ephesus age, Pentecost, good seed in his fear. He said, but while men slept, you see that men slept, dead, the church, they began to sleep. His enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. And that was the church. Men slept and the devil came in. So now in the dark ages, page 28, it says, and the woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared. So God kept the church in the wilderness. God kept the church even in that system of darkness. There were people worshiping God, but you could not see them. And that's why some people said that the church never fell, because there were still people worshiping God. There was some dying for the truth in this age here, dying for the truth. But as a open example of the light, you could not see the church no more. All you had was darkness. The lesson said that the church survived through the dark night of persecution. It survived, but it was not as powerful. It was not open. It was not a great example as the morning time church. It was not. But they survived. There were people who were still saved in that age, still saved. Still saved. There have been constant spiritual, page 28, constant spiritual warfare between light and darkness, true and error, since the beginning of time. And in the dark ages, after this kind of warfare broke out into actual physical warfare, in which many lost their life and brutal persecution and slaughter of humanity were common. We hope through the use of this lesson to awaken the student further to the true nature of the conflict that has raged through the ages. The devil can persecute and he can make uncomfortable the church that Jesus is building, but he never has and will, even with all of his fury, be able to overcome it. Thank God. So the church is always victorious. In spite of how the enemy come against the church is always victorious. Jesus said the gates of hell shall not prevail. If one person stays standing, the church is victorious. One person stays standing, the church is victorious. When the flood came, Noah found grace in God. Just take one person. Noah judged the world. One person and his family. He judged the world. So it don't take a multitude. If one person stays saved, God still won the battle. From Revelation, we learn that the stars represent angels, messengers, ministers. The stars symbolize the ministers of God, of the churches. From Revelation 12 to 11, verse 29, page 29, we learn that the dragon was defeated by the blood of the Lamb. In other words, men and women who knew God through the power of the gospel defeated the false religion. The pagan religion of that day had upon its banner of war the insignia of the dragon. Thus we see that the false religion of paganism, or plurality of gods, did inflict great injury on the church of God. The woman of this verse represent the church. For we learn from verse 17 that her seed kept the commandment of God. So in that sense, they're saying that the church never was defeated, because in the midst of the dark ages, people still stood just to die, but they never gave in. Many never gave in. So God still had a people in spite of the dark age. And we're living in the same time. We're full of false religion. But God going to still have a people. Jesus said the gates of hell shall not prevail against his church. No matter what come against us, God, church, is still triumphant. The church persecuted. The church in mortal conflict. A child was called. The pagan religion was able to destroy the flesh, but the soul of the martyr Christian were safely delivered to God. Some say that the man-child represent Christ. This cannot be. The man-child who died. This cannot be. For the mother or woman represent the church is collective. Therefore, the baby will of necessity have to be collective, representing all the Christians who were born in the church. The rod of iron is the word of God, which God intended should rule the men of the earth. It is represented as a rod of iron, not because of its hardness, but because it will not bend from its precept. That's why I consider the rod of iron, because they kept the faith. And even though they die, they kept the faith and they die. In that sense, the devil did not have victory over them because they died in the truth. In the 12th chapter of Revelation, it said, and the dragon, it said, and there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angel fought against the dragon and his angel, and the dragon fought and his angel, and prevailed not, neither were their place found anymore in heaven. That's the 12th chapter of Revelation. So the church overcame paganism. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angel were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser, the devil is the accuser of the brethren. He's the accuser. For the accuser of the brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him. Yeah, that's the morning time church. They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb. Even though some of them died, they overcame. They did not give in. They did not give in. They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their life unto the death. And this is what God is saying to God. In this time and age, we might have to face these kind of situations. We never know. With the domestic government that we have today and changing so many different things, and the immorality is greater than the good things. They're glorifying sin. They're glorifying sin. So the more sin they glorify, the more it gets tough on the church of God. The more it gets tough on the people of God. So we have to buckle down and get the grace that we need, because the system that is here right now is trying to make us accept sinful things that's against God, like same-sex marriage, like homosexual spirit. All they're trying to put it in the school, and they're trying to force people to accept these spirits. Now, I'm just saying, you got men trying to play women's sports. All these things are against nature. It's against God, and we as a church gonna have to stand. Many times if it's one thing that we as saints of God, all of a sudden the top of the door got swollen. It's one thing that we as saints of God, we see what's happening in our world. If you was to read about the founding fathers, they were not just politicians. They were well into God. They were into God. Those men, they were into God. They were not just because how can changes come when God people stay out of the fight? How can changes come? So we could sit and say, oh, look at the one brother mentioned one time, he said when Obama was president and he come with this thing about signing the same-sex marriage, he said, saints, the Church of God didn't even have a saying. We didn't have a delegation that would go up there and let them know that we are against that spirit. Did that Roman Catholicism. But the Church of God, we just sleeping. We didn't have no delegation going and say we're against that spirit. And then we want changes, but the only way change is going to come is when we get involved. We got to get involved. And these if you was to study the forefathers, these men them was involved in religious affair. They studied the scripture. That's why we have the Constitution that we have, because they studied the scripture and they wanted that everybody would get a fair share. So these men who are passed on, these men was men of God. They was into God, because that's what brought the country to what it is, what it was then. Without that, they could not be. But we trying to separate ourselves. No, you can't. You can't. You can't. We want changes. We got to get involved. That's the only way. You can't sit there and say, "Oh, the government did this, the government did that." Well, no. We got to get involved, but we don't want. Some people don't want to. Politics is dirty. Yes, we know, but somebody got to do something. How the truth gonna get to these people if we don't get involved with them? How the truth gonna get to them if we don't get involved with them? How you gonna get to them? So I look at the Apostle Paul's life, and he was not afraid of anything. Come to the point where Paul went before Agrippa. He went before Agrippa, and Paul, when he resolved with God, he went before Agrippa and he gave Agrippa his testimony. He said, Agrippa, so and so and so. I'm a free man, but I'm bound. They had him in bound. And he said, Agrippa, you know. He said, you know the law. He threw it right in his face. He said, you know the law. And Agrippa was smiling. And he spoke to Agrippa so clear that King Agrippa said, almost persuade me to be a Christian. My God. He didn't care who it was. Paul didn't care who it was. But he brought the truth to him. And we trying to stay away. We trying to stay away from the no. If you want changes, we got to get involved. Not just in church, we got to get involved with people on the outside. Not just the poor people. Even the people who have money, the people who rich people, the politicians, we got to get involved. We got to know something about it. How are we going to change the system if we stay away? And just some of us don't even vote. The guy said we didn't have a delegate to say that homosexual living is evil. We didn't have nobody from Church of God, and he was true, because we don't get involved, but we look at the thing and say, oh, it's getting bad. It's getting bad. Sure, it's gonna get bad.
What I realize, a lot of these people. What I realize with a lot of these people, Brother Hunt, they know the truth. They knows right from wrong. But because of power and fame, a lot of the things that they do is because of power and fame. But on the other hand, they know the truth and right. And as the writer said, the church, at times, the church is sleeping. The church have got to wake up.
Sure.
Because these things is against God. It's against God's commandment.
Sure.
And we are God's people down here on earth. We got to tell it abroad that these things are not right in the sight of God, because
sure.
God gave them over to the reprobate mind. That's what the Bible said.
Sure. We had an interfaith meeting beginning there with this senator, and he just became senator, and he came to the religious group. He's asking for help, and he asking for advice from the different churches, because he himself realized that what's going to help the neighborhood is the morality, is God. He realized that. So when he called the interfaith meeting, he asked him he said, look, we have young people going into jail, they're in jail, teenagers in jail, in these gangs. What can we do? He asked the church, what can we do? And we were there. And I raised my hand. I said, one of the problems is coming from home. You can't change that. The problem coming from home. Parents, no parents. And these young boys eventually get into gang and they end up in jail. The problem starts from home. And then he asks, what can we do? Sister Alicia mentioned to him, we need to give parents counsel. Somehow we can counsel these parents. But just that thought, it took us into the entire, it took over the entire meeting, that thought that we gave. Some of these men, he's supposed to be born again. They're asking for help, but they know. And then if you look at the meeting, the people who were there, homosexual spirit, I'm just saying, sitting there, the woman, she have a collar. She's supposed to be a priest or something. She sit down there. All of false religion spirit was there. And from there is where we got in contact with this man. And now we invite us to go to Albany. I'm just saying, we think about it, since of God, these folks out there, as you saying, that they have power, but some of them need help. They want help. They want help because they can't handle it, and they know they can't handle it because it's a moral issue. It's a spiritual issue. The problem is mostly spiritual. The wickedness is mostly spiritual. It's not because we ain't got no money or we ain't, no, it's spiritual. That's what the problem is. You started about the founding father. They said they were saying, look, when we got our freedom, America got free from England, whatever. They were saying, look, it's not good for people to have freedom without responsibility. They need something to check them, and that's where they will begin to incorporate God into the midst, because they know that God will control the people with their freedom. They will have some control. Why do you think God gave Moses the 10 Commandments? Just to control the people, to keep them in check. That's what it was for. It wasn't to make them holy, but to keep them in check. Same thing here. People need God. The government needs God. I'm not talking about just they know right from wrong. They don't know the truth. They don't know the truth. They think every church is the same. They look at the church of all the same. The one come up there and smoke is the church. The one come up there and drink is the church. They look at it all the same. But we at the God, we don't show up. We just we come on, we can do a good shout and a good run, good. What about the outside? What about outside? What about making an impact outside? And I'm praying to God for myself. I'm praying because I'm looking to God for great things. I'm looking to God for great things. I'm looking to God for great things. I'm looking to God, and I'm praying because I want to put myself in the limelight. I need to, because I got the truth. I know what truth is. I know what salvation is. And there are many people out there, they got power, but they don't know nothing about God. They don't know what truth is. There's somebody who go to church too, you know. But I say again, if you was to read the foundation of this country and how these political leaders, they were into God. They were into God. And not only that, but they study. They had degree, but they were into God. If you go back to the reformers, John Wesley, they went to school. Those guys, they just didn't study the Bible. They went to school. Some of them were lawyers. And God called them. And that's why they were able to turn the world upside down, the Reformation, because these guys were no dummies. not just in the Bible, but they were versed in the government. They knew what was going on. How you gonna confront it when you don't know nothing about it? How you gonna make a change if you don't know nothing about it? Some people don't even read the newspaper. They think it's bad. They ask you, who's the governor? Tilly. Who's Tilly? Who's the governor? Some people don't even know. Some people don't even know the Congress. Who is the? Don't know. But we live in the country. You just tell somebody, where's the Statue of Liberty? I don't know. It's in America. Never been there, never seen, never even passed by there. Don't know. Just stay in our cocoon and feel good. A lot of things. God help us. With this truth that we have, we got to spread out. You got something good, you got to spread out. God help us.
These people, they were lawyers, but yet they didn't know God. It's one thing to, be such a celebrity, but it's another thing to know God. I bring you an example. I remember back in Jamaica, there was the commissioner, the minister of national security. At one time when things get out of hand there, he stand in a public television, and you tell the country that they're going to have to seek a divine intervention from the higher power. And a lot of time people don't realize that they got to seek God until when they are at rock bottom,
Yeah.
until when their heads are because they're just craving for power. And when they realize that power alone cannot work, that's the time they're calling upon God. So it's the same day and age we are living in today.
One of the things that we got to, I always say to people that many people are saved. Today, many people are born again, but they don't know the truth. They don't know the truth. That's what Jesus told the Pharisees. He said, you continue in my word, and you shall know the truth. And the truth, that's not just being saved, the truth shall make you free. Listen to me. Sins of God, and that's part I'm saying part of my message. It's gonna make you. Making me, it has to work on you. Making. You're not made yet. The Apostle Paul, even in the last month, Paul said, I'm not attained yet. That man didn't attain yet with all what he did. And he can say he didn't attain yet. Lord have mercy. And some of us, they ain't do nothing. We think this man, Paul, so God help us. God help us. There's so much to be done. There's so much to be done. But this is the lukewarm age. And we could be complacent and fall into it. That's how the church died out. That's how the church went into apostasy. The Bible said they left their first love. And when you leave your first love, you're going to build something else. And that's why we have Roman Catholicism, because the church left the first love, and then the built Roman Catholicism came into existence. The Dark Ages, called the church, the mountain on fire fell into the sea. The church that was on fire went to sleep. I know we had Roman Catholicism, the Dark Ages came into play. So as I was saying, the Sunday school lesson here, it's a partial history of the church, and it helped tremendously because you could go through this lesson and go through the Revelation with it. This lesson of this month, you could go through this lesson and go through Revelation with it, because the way they have it, the church, who's the executive of the church is Jesus. He built his church. First of all, let's start with Israel. In the Old Testament, Israel was considered God's people. And then it comes down on spiritual Israel, you again. And then it gives you another topic. And I think the divine executive of the church, that's Jesus. And then again, another topic, the early church in action. The morning time church, the church where Peter and John and them was, that church was in action. That's the church that we need to typify ourselves to. The church that was in action. They did work for God. They turned the world upside down in their age. They didn't back down and no challenge. They were not afraid of dying. That's the church in action. And then the lesson come back and say they're falling away. That church in action, they fell away. After the apostle died out, young men then took over, and they began to bring in this spirit of supremacy. I am greater than you, and all this spirit of bishop and archbishop and cardinal came into play, and all they did was build an image of blasphemy. See that seat where the Pope sitting there? That's a seat of blasphemy. The same people who were standing when the apostle left the scene. That's why the Bible says you never make a novice a pastor. He's a novice. And this is what happened. Those novices came and took over the church, and they went to sleep. They went to sleep. You go to Matthew chapter 13. He said, men fell asleep. And that sleep is apostasy.
I agree, Brother Hunt, that the church must be in action, because when the church fell asleep, that's what happened.
Oh yeah,
Demons, the devil take over.
sure.
I remember our former pastor was
Spirit
saying
took
to us
over.
back home in Jamaica that when fireside is cold, when the ashes is cold, dogs sleep in it. When it is hot,
True.
dog cannot get into
Can't
it.
get in there.
So when the church is
Right,
cold,
right,
demons and devil take over.
right, right. See, brother, they did some great work in the morning time. And as I keep saying that we, Church of God today, the morning time church, Church of Pentecost, they had all the gift in the body. All the gift in the body was working. All the gift in the body was working. Discernment, wisdom, knowledge, miracle. Whatever gift in the Bible, it was working in the morning time. We today, we are lacking those gifts in the body. Very bad. We are lacking those gifts. Even in the reformers' time, somebody was sick, go to Missouri, call John Brown. He have the gift of healing. He come down, lay hands, person recover. There's so much that we are lacking in our age today. You know, we could. I say we could do good shouting, praising God, and that's good. I love that. But there's a power that we need in our own life to see God use us to make a difference, to make a difference. And may God help us, God, that we can be challenged. I'm not contented. I'm contented, I'm saved, but I'm not contented because I know what the church of God's supposed to be. I know what it's supposed to be. And I don't see it in my own ministry. I know what it's supposed to be. And may God help us so we can get a burden. See, it's good to see these things. And that's why I love in the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul never counted himself to have learned. And I'm challenged with that because, see, when you put yourself in a position where you haven't learned, then it gives you room to grow and get stronger. But when you think you have it, you feel you haven't, you ain't got nothing. But the Apostle Paul, he said, I press towards the mark. I press. He always has something to seek God for. He always had a challenge in his life. At the last moment. And then when he came to the point where he was about to get his head chopped off, at that point, he wrote, I finished my course. I kept the faith until death. At that point, he said, no, I'm finished. I'm finished now. All these other times, I was running. And I was just gaining more of God. But he said, I finished my course. May God help us, God. We need a challenge all the time. We need a challenge all the time. We never have it all. We never learn all. We need a challenge. And it will keep us. They say if you there's a picture they show you have a dog and the dog is lazy, or the dog don't want to do nothing. You get a hanger and put a piece of bone on it, and you just show the dog and the dog fall. So you wake him up, boy. You got a bone. He smell like bone, brother. He's coming, man. We're gonna stop here. God bless you. Get ready for the morning service. God bless you. Thank you. Got to see the